Hello everyone, I am Shuddha Shatto Shaha, and this particular video is a fun physics video. You can say it's fun with a big challenge. In fact, it is with ray optics. It is dealing optical center, and we are going to find out what really is optical center of a lens. We have different kinds of lenses: biconvex, biconcave, plano-concave, plano-convex, convexo-concave, concavo-convex, and many such types. And we have different types of optical centers located at their different points, and we define optical centers in most of the standard physics textbooks as that particular point on the principal axis of that lens through which any incident ray will pass undeviated when it intersects the principal axis in the process of traveling. But I find this definition quite vague. In fact, this is not complete definition. So this particular video will be towards describing the optical center of a lens in its actual sense, how we actually define the optical center of a lens. But before we dive into this concept of optical center, we have to know something about the so-called lateral displacement produced by refraction through a glass slab. We have to know something about it. A very brief, just a relation we have to know. And if we know that, then we can understand the latter topic, that is optical center. So you consider this slab up here. I guess it's there. Yeah. So that slab you see, that's a glass slab of thickness, let us say T. T is the thickness. It's a variable. You can take, it can be about 15 centimeter. It can be about 10 centimeter. Depends on the lab equipment you are using. Just see a simple slab over there, glass slab, refractive index, let us assume it to be mu up there. Now, the light which is incident through one parallel face of the slab, there are 4 parallel faces, 2 pairs. Light incident on a face of that rectangular slab will pass, it will refract and then emerge parallel to the direction at which it was incident. So it will emerge parallel to the incident ray. Now you observe it has got deviated. That deviation produced in its path is what we call linear deviation or lateral displacement. Both are same terms. And we know that this lateral displacement produced for refraction through a glass slab is directly proportional to the thickness of the slab. I mean, this T you can see here, up here, it is proportional to your thickness, let us say D. This is a very important relation we are going to use to define the optical center in its new sense. This particular relation has a particular simple geometric derivation which I am not discussing, as it is there almost in every physics book you can get up hold of high school physics, I mean, or the AP courses available for other types of undergrad physics courses. But as such, this relation will be useful in a way that we are going to realize something very important, and we will make a conclusion at the end of this video. So let's clear out this. Okay, so I think it's blank. Yeah. Now imagine that you have a biconvex lens. You know what's a biconvex lens? The one I am wearing is biconcave because I suffer from myopia. So people like me need. Apart from that, one of the lenses is cylindrical in nature due to some increased radius of curvature of my eye's retina. I have some cylindrical power by means I don't know how I got it. Anyway, so you can see there a biconvex lens. Now imagine that at some particular point of the lens, if a ray of light was incident at such an angle that it refracts through the lens, it will enter, get refracted, and then it will emerge. But now if it emerges parallel to the initial direction of incidence, that is, if the refracted ray, it is parallel to the direction of incident ray, then the point at which that refracted ray inside the lens intersects the principal axis of the biconvex lens, that is the optical center as we define it in physics. this is not given in any book, I guess, and if it is so, it is given in a different way with some assumptions, pre-assumptions made, something assumed beforehand and not even stated properly in some of the books, at least in most of the books I came across. Actually, optical center is that particular point through which if a ray of light gets refracted, then the emergent ray will be parallel to the incident ray for a lens, refraction through lens. Now you can consider that lens to have some linear thickness. Yeah, and you know something I discussed in the beginning, linear thickness of that lens, you can treat it like a glass slab, you can relate it, it is analogous to the glass slab relation. So the thickness of this lens, this biconvex lens, will be directly proportional to the lateral displacement produced, or in other way around, the lateral displacement of the incident ray, that is how much linearly it gets shifted from its initial path of traveling, that is linear displacement or lateral displacement, that is directly proportional to the thickness. Now think of it, if you have some lens of negligible thickness, T is negligible, so you find that this lateral displacement is almost negligible, so which means that your light ray will get refracted undeviated from its original path of traveling. Where it was originally traveling, it won't get deviated to much extent accurately, which means, it simply means, if you have a thin lens of negligible thickness, there you use this relation, your lateral displacement tends to 0 for a lens of negligible thickness, T tends to 0, D tends to 0. So from this you can figure out that the light ray will be undeviated, almost undeviated in the process of refraction. So which means that now you will get some point on the principal axis at which that ray of light, when refracted undeviated through that lens, gets passed. When it is refracting and passing through the lens, you get a point. That point is named in most of the textbooks as optical center, but this is the assumed definition of optical center. So there the fun adds that actually optical center is this. And in fact, a more fun fact is that it's quite interesting to find out that you might figure it out from common sense that and it's a common notion among people that the optical center is always the geometrical center of any lens we consider or any shape we consider, but it is not so. For any refractive shape or for any lens, it is not necessary that the optical center of that particular lens is its geometric center, by which I mean, suppose you have a biconvex lens, that one, so there the optical center is its geometrical center also. But if you have, let me for example say that you have a plano-convex lens, that one, so there you can see that the optical center is not the geometric center of the lens, it is the geometric center of the spherical surface of the lens. This is a very interesting point, and there is a way of finding out where the optical center is located by means of ray optics, geometrics, and some simple math and algebra, etc. You can do that. If I take the example of a plano-concave lens, then you can see that the optical center is again the geometric center of the curved surface, not of the lens. It is not lying at the point which is the geometric center of the whole lens. Only the curved surface's midpoint is where the optical center lies. You will be amazed to know that the optical center of a lens can lie outside it. It might not lie inside the region bounded by the two faces of a lens, by which I mean, if I take a convexo-concave lens which actually diverges a parallel beam of light, incident light which is parallel will be diverged by a convexo-concave lens, there you will see that the optical center lies outside the lens at some distance, and that is not necessarily the geometric center of the whole lens. It is outside the lens at all. Totally it's outside, as you can see in the figure clearly. And if you take a concavo-convex lens which will ultimately converge parallel beam of light which is incident on the lens, so that type of a lens also has its optical center outside the lens. This is quite interesting, and there is a particular way to figure out where the optical center of a lens lies. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it about optical center.